Welcome to Framework Fortune and welcome back Framework Fortune community. I'm your host Ben and it's time for your Monday through Friday episode of The Last Rip, where we take a look at some of the rippers on the top Nasdaq and NYSE gainers list and recap any trades I took on the day. And I took some trades today we're going to dive into. But first, we got to check the S&P 500, see where the market's going. Let's dive into the SPY. So the SPY had a sell-off overnight, pretty nasty drop all the way down to 427.35-ish, 40-ish, something like that. Did rebound, but not very much. Rebounded about 431 and is now going sideways again. We did close above the 20-day moving average. But, you know, it just kind of looks like a stocking hanging on a chimney or something that a cat could just and knock off. And if that's the case, if we start to sell off again tomorrow, we will see this pull back to 420. With it being Friday, it is very possible that we could sell off. The market is getting real shaky, and a lot of investors are getting a little bit nervous about holding their positions and buckling up for the Tower of Terror drop that could be happening. May not happen, could happen. We'll see. More than likely, we're at least going to get this pullback to the 50 like I said yesterday. So ARPO had some news, getting a price target raise and basically saying why they did that. They said there's some strength in the stock. It ran pre-market, right at pre-market open, from 2 to 375, pulled back all day, and I was keeping an eye on it, but I ended up trading some other things, and did get another little pop-up off of this little triangle up to 335, but just never got a huge rip. And this had the most volume on the Nasdaq, 245 million in volume, and it just couldn't get going. So there's a lot of selling pressure in there because the float's only 47 million, so it's not like it's that high of a float. The next stock, however, CARV, I did trade and got 95 million in volume, only 3.5 million shares outstanding, and this thing went nuts this morning. So you can see where I got in right here at the bottom candle at 17,965. So why did I do this? Why did I get in CARV before we really had anything going on with it? Well, in pre-market, we had this nice, slow buying volume coming in, starting to climb. And then right at market open, it had a little dip to the 50-day and then started pushing up. And on the 1 minute, it actually made several different patterns that are bullish indicator patterns. So one pattern we have here at the bottom, we have a U-shape. Started selling off at market open and then started curling back up, breaking over all these EMAs. That was a good buying entry, and you can see that's about where I got in at. But also the 20-day crossed all the EMAs, so we had the big crossover. So it came out with PR saying that this is one of the most shorted stock. Of course, that got the apes involved. So I smelt the apes coming on this play, and it had a nice rip up, getting halted 3 times all the way up. And on this third halt right here in this consolidation, when it started going red, I hopped out. That was for like a $56 win. And then I let it do its thing. And it did its things for a while. Came back down. Started holding some support areas and showing this same type of slow buy-in coming in that we had back here in pre-market. And this kind of trend line starting to form. I jumped in there. You can see at 26.27. And rode it all the way up to 30.25 before getting out on this red candle that dipped. So with 2 trades on CARV and only 10 shares a piece on those trades, I was able to make $113 on this massive rip. And I went very light because I wasn't sure what to expect today with the market dropping overnight. But this is why you want to be getting in before the apes get in, before all the rest of the retail investors get in. You want to make sure you're on the right trades and having the right entries, because then you can make some pretty easy profits. My entries were really good. Now, you could have took an entry in this consolidation when that downtrend broke, but this was the best entry. This would have been second best entry for that second rip, and then this was a pretty good entry, or you could have bought it off of the 100-day if you were feeling a little risky. So you've got to learn as a new trader where the best entries are, and the best entries are going to be the ones that have support below them, like the 200-day moving average right here on CARV. You don't want to be jumping in the rips unless you're doing a really quick scalp, and still then it's very risky. So we'll continue to try to get in plays before the apes get there. The FOMO kicks in and the apes come, then we're in the right play and we get nice explosions like this. LMFA, not really any news, but was down pretty low at this $4 area. Very low float stock. So started getting some slow buying volume in there, and then it looks like around lunchtime this just had a big explosion before it sold most of those gains off. It held about half its gains, and it did close above all EMAs, so it is one to keep on watch for another possible movement. Although I think we may see CARV be the stock again tomorrow, since it is Friday. COHN, you can see in pre-market had a little bit of buying volume, not really any news on it. Bottom support there, multiple EMAs, bounced off of that, came across the 20 and started getting slow buying volume. Very low float, only 1 million in shares, and that ended up pushing this thing all the way up to $50. You look lately, we've had a lot of times where COHN gives its gains back because of selling pressure, making these upper wicks on these candles. CTRD, that's just kind of the same thing, a little buying volume coming in there in pre-market, got a little pop, came down to these EMAs, bounced off, and just continued to climb up the rest of the day. A lot of these look the same. I think traders are looking for kind of similar patterns on similar stocks that are very low float. The apes have kind of made it where we're in a hot low float market, really. Beginning of the week was a little shaky, but it's really heated up today. We'll see if that continues tomorrow or not. ATHE, this was one that was ripping last week. Pulled back down all the way to the EMAs on the daily chart, getting bought up yesterday. And then today shooting back up, holding most of its gains. So definitely one to keep on watch for tomorrow. I'm going to add it to the list. NVFY, no volume, but very low float, 5.5 million. Not much going on with it. There was a little U-shape there, just like the other plays, before it crossed the EMAs here and then shot up. Very big explosion, 3-something to 715, and that's what you get, volume coming in these low floats. So it's another possible one to keep on watch. We could see these low floats continue to run. NFVY did hold about half of its gains, so possible another play. UTME, nothing really here. It's just been selling off since it IPO'd, it looks like. I just hit a new lower year and getting a little dead cat bounce, so nothing to really pay attention to. ANEY, I talked about this one last night. Keep it on watch. Broke that downtrend on the daily and didn't do it till power hour, but running from $3 all the way up to $3.50. This is definitely one to keep on watch now for tomorrow and next week, as this one has consistently been running the last couple of weeks. GBS received a $5 million grant from the Australian government, so that got a little hype in here right at market open and then pretty much sold off after that. That is pretty good PR, but it's on the NYSE. And, we're seeing way more volume on Nasdaq stocks than NYSE, so I don't think I would keep it on watch. It does have the EMAs all above it as well. So to cover all of my trades, like I said, I traded CARV. I also traded SEED, SEED. This one had just hit a new low a year, so kind of the same thing as that play we just looked at, where we got a little dead cat bounce, a little bounce off of that low. I got in after the pullback right here, around this 865 area, looking for it to hold the 20-day and these other EMAs. It got a pop all the way up to 1054 and was a very quick pop, pushed right back down. So I was holding, we were still consolidating, still riding up the 20, pushing upwards. And then I added a few shares right there, buying in this indecision candle, which was a mistake, because it did start dropping, but I just got out of it, made a little $4 profit. Smart thing would have been to wait to see how the next candle opened and which direction it went before I averaged in on this indecision candle. Then I would have known not to do that. This would have told me, the chart would have told me. But that's okay, still a win, so I will take it. And the other trade I took was on XELA. This is one that we've been watching. I talked about it last night in the last rip to keep an eye on it. It came out this morning, it was low, started pushing up, and I knew if it broke $3 it would try to move. So you see the 20-day crossing over starting right there. I got in a little early because I wanted to be right on this support in case it turned around. But that worked out really well in my favor because once it did break $3, it ran all the way up to $3.50, and you can see where I locked it out there. It did climb a little bit higher, but I'm not worried about it. A lot of selling pressure on this. You can see where this was pushed down, but it's still worth keeping on watch as it could continue to move. So overall, I went 4 for 4 today, made about $140 green on the week. Not been a fantastic week, but not a terrible week. Anytime you're green, it's nice. And we'll see if we can't add to those gains tomorrow. So let me know your thoughts on these top gainers and the direction the market's going, and let me know any trades that you took and how you did today. And we'll be back tomorrow morning for some more live stream day trading. If you haven't joined us yet, why don't you come and jump in the chat and hop in there and see what shenanigans we're up to. Appreciate everybody joining me as always. Stay safe out there. Until next time.